Good morning. Denise Dryden here from Whitefish, Montana. And today I get to sit downstairs in front of my bookcase, which is one of my favorite things in the entire world. It's a place to hold all of my books, all of this sort of ancient wisdom I've been studying for years, and parenting and all of that stuff. So it's sort of nice to have this red behind me, because this is a difficult topic that we're going to discuss today. When form follows thought. Just think about that for a minute. That what we carry in our heads, what we carry in our minds, shows up in front of us. So a really simple example is that, a couple months ago we were looking at buying a new car. And what do you want? Do you want a Honda CR-V? Do you want this? Do you want that? And what we noticed is that as soon as something came up to us, like, what do you think about Volkswagen? Everything we kept seeing going by us was that particular car. And so, we kind of diminish that. We kind of toss it off. But in actuality, what we think about actually comes into form in front of us. So, and we're going to talk about a form. Hi, Kelly. So glad you joined in today. And that sent that little heart across. That's awesome. Einstein talks about the theory of relativity, and he says that mass itself is a form of energy. So energy is defined by the Greeks as energos, which means active. It's like this pulsing active mass. And when we can access energy, we're accessing that pulsing active mass. So whatever we carry around in our heads kind of goes through us and shows up out in front of us, representing all of these examples of what that mass can represent. So I wanted to talk about this week because there's a lot of things happening globally and nationally, and I thought, as we start to become aware of what we hold in our thought patterns, it makes a difference as to what shows up in front of us. So on a global level, we've got all these international conflicts and who's meddling here and there, and we have wars and terrorists, and we have a lot of strategic questions going on right now and a lot of changes. And it's in the news, whether it's on the BBC or the CNN or NPR or Fox, whatever you're watching, it's just constant international news or in the national news, where we're dealing with political issues that are scaring the crap out of us. I like that Saturday Night Live skit last week, which is, I would just like to open my phone for one day and not have this gripped fear in my body. And that's why I wanted to talk about how we bring things into form. So on a personal level, we can keep it out there or we can bring it in. And we can talk about, our relationship issues, family dynamics, work stuff, even that interpersonal dialogue of, are you satisfied? Are you happy? Are you being the best person that you can be? And all of that comes, in the personal side. So when we're looking at how our thoughts turn into form in front of us, I thought we would start with that sort of react-respond concept. And when we react to something, we're exerting this sort of, something comes up and we go, there it is. And what we do is we throw at it the same reciprocal energy. So if we're terrified, we throw terror back. If we're angry, we throw anger back. If we're scared or in fear, we throw fear back. So reaction is sort of counteracting this force or influence that showed up in front of us. When we respond, we embrace something different. We answer or reply or act in return, and responding is a feminine energy. It's like noticing what's coming in, internalizing it, going, I wonder what this is asking me to be. And then turning around and putting something out there that turns it into a form that you need to see. So when we respond, we understand that the power lies within. And we access that feminine energy that gives us that opportunity to sort of retranslate that and say, well, all of this is happening out there. I'm being asked to do something different. What do I want to be in this? What do I want to choose to be? And then to respond with that reciprocal energy that you want to send out, not in reaction. This makes a lot of sense because when we're talking about fears, I ran into that acronym, which is like false evidence appearing real. we can buy into it or we can let it go. But fear is the absence of love. And when we step into fear and we start creating a world around us in fear, we start seeing things that terrify us out in front. So I'll give you an example to drive it home. And I've got something on my phone that's not going to let me move it. So I'm a coach. I work with parents who have adolescents and young adults in therapeutic programs. That's not my exclusive, but that's sort of been my passionate emphasis for the last 10 years. And I was working with a family this week, and they were working on this transition of their kiddo coming home from being in wilderness and in a therapeutic boarding school and now transitioning home. And what I kept hearing over and over again from both of them was, what about this? What about that? There's drugs, there's school failure, there's behavior, there's what if we can't get our child to do what we need them to do? And finally I realized what we really need to focus on is like a fear dump. So we took a piece of paper and we just put down all of these things that the parents have been holding on to, like, what are we going to do when this shows up again? Because it was there in the past. And in the process of looking at this fear dump, what we were able to do was recognize that if we hold all of those things in place, if that's our belief system about this kiddo, and we hold all of those in place, then we're going to start seeing all of those start showing up. And when I brought in the idea that form follows thought, how do we release these fears of what we hold on to about our spouse or our children or ourselves? And so in working with this kiddo, what we were looking at is, how do we recognize how much work the student has done while they're in program, and recognize who they are and what they need to do, and then meet them there. Meet them there with new eyes and fresh eyes, instead of trying to impose what we hold onto them and then seeing it show up. So it requires each of us every day, whether we're watching the news, whether we're in conversation with someone we care about, whether we're preparing for something in the future, is to check in and say, I'm in fear. I don't know, am I? Am I in reaction? How do I shift into response? And then look at, what is it that I'm holding inside my heart right here? What is it that I'm holding inside my head? And how can I resist the temptation to create that on the outside if it's not what I want? And that's the key part, if it's not what I want. So when we embrace the idea that we can actually create something out in front of us that we need to see, it's a lot of opportunity and responsibility, which is, how do I make sure that my thought patterns are clean? That I'm not in reaction, I'm not in fear, I'm not in something that's gripped and trying to hold something in form. So whether it's globally, nationally, or personally, explore what you hold on to. Explore what influences you and what you let influence you. Explore what you're in reaction to, and explore when you're in response. Know the difference between those two. And, this is such a key parenting tool. Notice when you're in reaction and notice when you're in response. Then choose what you want to bring into form. Do you want to bring anger into form? Do you want to bring worry into form? Do you want to bring patience into form? Do you want to bring leadership into form? This is what it looks like when we make adult decisions regarding our thoughts and our feelings. Is it love that we want to bring into form? Is it open? Is it flexible? Is it encompassing of the world around us? So, I wrote on a Twitter earlier that I believe that when we understand that our thoughts show up in form in front of us, that's our superpower. It comes down to us. What do we do with our thoughts? Do we let them randomly take us down the path of terror and fear and the world is ending and our political structure is doomed? Or do we go into it with, I wonder what all of this means and what it's asking me to be? And then how do I take that responsibility and put it out there in a different way? So, part of what I've been hearing and reading on Facebook and throughout the news and on any program is, how do we step away from this grip of holding into form something that we don't want? So I'm going to invite you today to look at similarities, to look at where love and compassion and forgiveness exist in the world, to double check on what you're holding on to and what are you trying to create in front of you, and realize that you're so powerful that you can change that. And that superpower is like one of the best things, especially when working with adolescents, is they're going to do something over there. I'm not going to let it affect me. We have men and women, in our capital acting like adolescents right now. I'm not going to let that affect me. I'm going to respond with wisdom, and I'm going to respond knowing who I am. So I'm Denise Dryden. I'm a coach. You can find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. If you have any questions, by all means, give me a call. And Kelly, it looks like either Kelly or Rachel just put up, yeah, it's like the power of the law of attraction. Whatever we put out there shows up in front of us. So, good one. Thank you so much for joining me today, and have a great week and have a great Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.